Today I'm trying to figure out why my fresh tank is slowly filling up with water even though I'm on city water. The theory I've come to is that it's probably the check valve inside the water pump here, so I'm going to see if there's any buildup on it, or if the whole pump head needs to be replaced. The back pressure from the tank being full is causing all this water to come pouring out of here, so I'm going to have to wait for the tank to drain. I'm draining it out of the main tank dump under the RV as well, and then I guess I'm going to have to sit here and pull the water while I'm working on it. I could probably confirm that it's the check valve if I went and turned the water back on, in which case I think I would start to see a little bit of water coming out right here. But I don't want to do that. That would just make a big mess. That's probably what it is. I already replaced the city fill to tank fill valve over on at the water bay, thinking that might be the problem. And since that's a new valve, that can't be it. So the only other thing it could be is this right here. I had a lot of particles and dust and stuff all over this, and since this is a bunch of diaphragms and valves inside here, I don't want to have any dust getting back and stuck in there. So I went ahead and cleaned it all off here first. Got all the bolts loosened up. This bolt, and the ones directly opposite there and right here have an extra washer on them for whatever reason, so make sure those bolts go in the same spots. But I'm going to try and take this off of here, leaving all the bolts in it, and hopefully I don't have to flip it upside down or anything. Alright, that's our insides. And I can already see the problem with the check valve. My backfill problem is definitely from the way that this check valve here is seated. It's kind of hard to tell on the video here, but it's slightly crooked. It's not sitting up against this seal flat. I can kind of, do that. It'll go flat again, but it was leaning out with this very edge here sticking out past the seal there, and I'm sure that's where the leak is coming from. Might have to replace the whole head, but I'm going to see if I can tinker with it here and get it in better shape. You can access that valve here. There's 3 screws here. This one is a longer screw than these two. Just make sure that it'll be obvious when you put it back together. Just make sure you're using the right screws. You can lift this off. First time I took this off, this was stuck right there. And this time when I took it off, it was laying flat down there. So just make sure that you don't lose these pieces. Okay, we're gonna set these off to the side here. This has a whole bunch of gunk on it that needs to be cleaned off. This part here is a plate that you can actually access the valve underneath, and it's spring loaded. So it's held on by a rubber O-ring. So you kind of just need to pry it up a little bit like this. And it's going to have a spring in there, so make sure that take a look at how all the parts are in here and how they go back together. So that's the bottom of this diaphragm here. This is all just looks like one plastic piece here. It's not rubber or anything. Spring sits down in there. And then it looks like the valve goes right there on top of that. And that's your check valve assembly. Mine looks like it's pretty degraded right here on this edge, and it's probably going to need to be replaced. It's like, I don't know if you can see it, but it looks good on this edge, and it's kind of bubbled out right here on this edge. It's not giving a good seal anymore on that edge. I don't know if you can see, but this has pressed up against here so long that it's formed this indentation right here, and it is, or it was mismanufactured and it has this indentation here. I'm gonna guess that it's probably that it's been slightly off center and pressing down on it for a long time. This is just pressed onto here, and I think that I can possibly pop it off, and then I'm going to try and flip the washer over, and hopefully I can get this part to go back on there nice and tight, and the washer will stick better on the other side. Carefully prying that piece off seemed to work pretty good, and I've got all kinds of gunk under there, so I'm going to clean that out, and then I'm going to try and flip the washer over this way, and hopefully it seats better. Be careful, it's a really small piece. You don't want to fling it somewhere while you're prying it off. That actually seats up against that pretty good. So I think once the spring is in there providing pressure to it, I think this might just work. Alright, I've given this a real good cleaning here, and we're gonna need to clean the diaphragm on the other end there. It's got a lot of gunk on it, but I'm gonna put this part back together for now. So, like I said, I took this washer that was this gasket that was this way, and is all bubbled out and malformed on that side, and I'm just gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna put this little pin back on here. There's a little notch that it's got to go down past here. Okay, so that's back on. The spring is pressing the valve back down. This plate's back on here. This piece goes on top like that, and I've cleaned all the gunk off of it. And now we're gonna put this piece back on top here. Let's see, it orients this way. And then the 3 screws, 2 short ones on this side, and the long one on this side. I'm just going to get them started to make sure that I don't cross thread them. feels pretty good. Let's grab drill here. Okay, it's all back together. Feels pretty good, nice and sturdy. We might have a fixed check valve there. Now let's look at the other half of the pump here. I've got a whole bunch of yucky gunk all over this diaphragm here, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up before I put the pump back together and check for any rips or anything like that. This whole plate assembly here lifts off of the motor just like that. There's the motor. I'm going to set that aside. And we're going to have a look at this part here. I want to be really careful with this because this all needs to be seated perfectly for the pump to work. I'm going to go ahead and get a soft towel here, and I'm going to clean all this out of here. I want to give this diaphragm a good wash under some water, so the only way to do that, I think, is to see if I can take this off of here, is to take these 4 screws out down here and see what's underneath it. I'm going to take it apart real carefully since I don't know exactly what's inside of there. Okay, I'm going to lift this apart very carefully now. Doesn't look like there's any moving parts inside or springs. It's just this base and this diaphragm assembly here. So that's pretty safe to take apart, it looks like. I'm going to look inside here, make sure there's no gunk or anything. That looks pretty good in there, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it a rinse off here, just so everything is nice and clean when I put it back together. It looks like this can be oriented any different direction, so I'm not too concerned about that. But these appear to be valves right here, and there doesn't appear to be any way to take that assembly apart. And so I want to be real careful with these. They're soft. I'm not sure if they can fall out of here. So as I'm rinsing it off, I'm just going to be real careful about not having anything come flying out of here or fall apart. All right, got this piece looking a lot better, nice and clean there, and nice and clean on this side. I don't know exactly how this pump works, but these appear to be 4 valves here and 4 valves right there, and they're doing something to let the water in and out of this chamber. And so it makes sense that you probably want these things to be all nice and clean. I did notice that seems like there's some color degradation on one of the valves here, just ever so slightly. Makes me wonder if it's starting to wear out right here. I don't know if you can see it, but the black is starting to wear off. And so I don't know if that's okay or that indicates that this thing is on its way out. Otherwise, it seems in pretty good shape. So I've got this, except for that ant right there, got this one nice and cleaned out. And I'm going to go ahead and put all this back together. It doesn't appear to me that it matters which way that's oriented. And I'm going to put this back on there, screw it back together. be careful when you're doing that. I felt like I kind of realized at the end there, too late if I would have done some damage, that I was pressing on these pretty hard with the palm of my hand. They look okay, but probably should have paid more attention to that. Blow that out of there. I might want to be using something different than a paper towel to clean this out, because it's leaving ever so tiny little paper towel particles in here. So I'm going to blow it out real good before I put it all back together. Okay, I'm going to stick this back on here, and there's a little flat side orients to the shaft, to where it needs to be stuck in there. And I don't, again, like the other pieces, this doesn't appear to matter which way you put it on here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the head back on it. And that's going to go this way right here. And there is this seal you need to make sure that seal sits in there properly. Doesn't feel like it's giving me too much resistance or anything. I think we're good to go. I'm going to screw it back together now. Alright, got her all back together. This wire here goes on the inside. And this wire leads back to the power supply. Goes on the outside pin. Put it back in. Got it installed, and in case anyone's wondering, mine only had one bolt there holding it, one screw holding it in, and I guess that's okay. It needs to vibrate around a lot, and it only just kind of needs one foot there to keep it where it needs to be. But I've already got indication from loosening the sides up here and seeing if there's any leakage that the backflow has stopped. So only time will tell now, but I think that should probably fix my fresh water tank filling up